Well, guys, even though Rachel isn't physically here to do the monologue today, she still is the inspiration. You see, yesterday, Rachel had a tweet that grabbed my attention. No, not that ridiculous one, Rachel. Hey, it's 2019, not even in 2020. Nothing comes close to Yiddy. That's what I named Baby Yoda, by the way. Now, I meant this one. See, oftentimes, we hear the jump get accused of overlooking the so-called flyover states, a claim that is, of course, utterly ridiculous and rather swiftly debunked by Rachel in that tweet. But one of my New Year's resolutions is going to be, how can I be more empathetic?
Yeah, right.
So I figured maybe the problem here isn't a lack of discussion about the teams in America's heartland, but rather we here at The Jump don't do a good job alerting the people in America's heartland that we're in fact talking about their teams. So gather your kinfolk, huddle around your Meemaw's vintage 55-inch 4K LCD and tell cousin Jeffrey to fire up the ESPN app on his iPhone 11, because we're about to talk about the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, that's right. It's for real. True. I'm serious. After last night's signature win versus the Boston Celtics, in which they overcame a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter and a season-high 44 points from Kemba Walker, the Pacers have now won 9 of their last 12 games and post a top 10 defense and an above-average offense as they hold the fort in the absence of their all-star, all-NBA, all-everything leader Victor Oladipo. They've been able to do this through contributions from many of President Kevin Pritchard's shrewd investments. The big offseason acquisition, Malcolm Brogdon, was his usual hyper-efficient self last night, scoring 29 points on only 10 field goal attempts and assisting on more than 40% of Indiana's made field goals while he was on the floor. The other guy from the Paul George trade, Domantas Sabonis, posted his 20th double-double, just 2 behind the league leader Giannis, and is making that $75 million rookie extension look like an absolute steal. Seriously, the guy's going to make less than $20 million per year over the next 4 years. The Holiday brothers, who both played the entire fourth quarter, where the Pacers outscored Boston by 15 points, combined last night for 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 steals. Both brothers are shooting better than 39% from 3 on the season, and best of all, combined, they earn less than a non-taxpayer mid-level exception, proving once again, more holidays are always a good thing, right? Hey, the Jeremy Lamb signing, the TJ Warren heist. Look, I could keep going, but you get the point. They're doing all this without the services of Thingamajig himself. That's right. Victor Oladipo was on The Masked Singer. He was the semifinalist. He should have won, if you ask me, or Billy Gill over in the Levitar show. But here's the real point, though. Indiana has built this team without leaning on the crutch of how hard life is for small market teams. Yes, life is harder when you're not on the coast, and yes, your margin for error is much smaller. But through prudent cap management, savvy scouting, and opportunistic trades, you can field a competitive team in a small market. But with no return in sight for Oladipo, according to Coach Nate McMillan, and a schedule that gets decidedly tougher the next month, can the Pacers keep the ship afloat until their masked crusader returns? Now, Scotty, what's the ceiling for the Pacers when Oladipo returns eventually?
Wow. Well, I mean, it's Thursday. As long as they're playing now, I mean, they could easily move up to second or third place in the East. This team is playing exceptionally well, and they've done this. They've created this culture over the last couple of years. Nate McMillan have put his imprint on this team, play hard on the defensive end, play together, and that's what this team really implements night in and night out. I mean, they're an exciting team to watch without having their superstar player on the floor.
Anybody, shouldn't say anybody, but the teams who can trade for an established all-star like Anthony Davis, who can sign an established all-star, like if you sign a guy like LeBron James or a guy like Kyrie Irving, that's an accomplishment. The real thing that is really hard to do is to do that for players who haven't been all-stars, who become all-stars. So they did it with Oladipo, and they're right there. Brogdon and Sabonis both have a chance to be Eastern Conference all-stars this year, one or the other, maybe even both. That's how you have to do it in Indiana, especially in a place where they're never going to be outside the top, the bottom 10 in spending. They're just never going to be able to do spending. And this was a bit of actually, they had a tough start to the season. There were some issues with who was going to play. Sabonis was upset initially about his contract extension. Even now, there's a little bit of, Miles Turner isn't playing his best. So they've benefited from a relatively easy schedule going on, but they've also overcome some things. And so I really respect the way they put this team together and the way they've stuck with it and playing their best basketball.
Looking at that schedule, you're right, it has been exceptionally soft. I think Boston is really the really tough team that they actually beat. Moving forward, how much striking distance do they have to be to the pack, do you think, by the time Oladipo gets back?
The issue is I have no idea what Victor Oladipo is going to be. He's going to have been out a year. I mean, if he comes back and you put him alongside Sabonis and Brogdon, you would think that they would be really, really competitive up to maybe one of those top 4. I just don't know. What I do know is this. Brogdon, because he has to handle the ball so much more, his efficiency, now he was a 50, 40, 90 guy, one of the few we've ever had in the league last year. He's come down on that, and his turnovers have gone up because they're putting the ball in his hands so much. If I look at the raw numbers, I could actually make a case that Brogdon will get better when Oladipo comes back because his usage will go down a little bit, but I just don't know. But it's certainly exciting. We're talking about how the trade deadline might be a little quiet this year. The Pacers may have the biggest trade deadline of anybody because they're going to potentially bring an all-star back.
Yeah, I have to agree with a lot of what he's saying. I think bringing Oladipo back will take a little bit of that pressure off of Brogdon. I think him coming in there right now, he's trying to really make an initial point to show that, he belonged there and he can do a lot. But I think bringing Oladipo back is going to make this team even more efficient.
All right. You happy, Middle America? Now we're going to talk about the coastal cities.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.